over to something new. It's not starting over to go right back into the same old mess. I mean, have you ever, started over on something and because you didn't like where you were and you started over, but you find yourself right smack dab in the same spot? Because you just keep doing the same old things, and like, how did I get here? I don't like this. I want to start over. So we go back and we start all over, and then before we know it, we're right back in the same rhythms that we were to begin with. But starting over with Jesus, He wants to say, look, I want to move you down a new path. So He leads us out of the mess we're in, gives us this new path to follow. And so with Peter, Jesus is going to restore him. He's going to give him a clean slate. And then what's unique here is He's going to commission Peter to do something altogether new. And so you think about Peter's life. How many times did he deny Jesus? How many times? 3 times. Yeah, he denied Christ 3 times. And so Jesus is going to take this walk with Peter, and 3 times, in a sense, He's going to commission him. It's almost like He's going to touch each denial with a commissioning of feed my lambs, tend my sheep, feed my sheep, these kinds of things. He's going to commission him. And so it's really a unique conversation here. And normally, whenever I'm teaching up here, I don't normally throw a lot of Greek at you. But today it's important to do that. And, because it's critical to know that in the Greek language, of course, that's what the New Testament's originally written in. But there are different words for love. And so y'all know this. Y'all have heard these things before. Y'all have heard the words agape, philia, those kinds of things. There's agape love, philia love, those kinds of things. And so that agape love is just that supreme love, right? It's supremely, it's loving like God loves us. It's the perfect, pure kind of love. And so there's that kind of love. And then there's philia, which is more of an affection kind of love. To have affection for someone, friendship kind of love, or, brotherly love, those kinds of things. And so here they are, they're taking this little stroll together, and Jesus is talking to Peter, and the first thing that He does here is He calls him Simon. And so think about that just for a minute. There was a pivot point when Peter was really, really strong, and Jesus said, you'll now be called Peter, and on this rock I'll build my church, right? Well, it's like now He's kind of reverting back, and he's just correcting Peter. He says, Simon. He goes back to his old name, Simon. And He says, do you love me? Now, pay attention here, because here it's agapeo. It's the verb love like God loves us. He says, do you agapeo me? Do you agape me? Well, whenever Peter replies, he says, yes, Lord, you know that I phileo you. You know that I have an affection for you. Why would he do that? Well, in all of Peter's boldness, he was so bold, and all these times right now, he's humbled by it all. He is not going to toot his own horn, so to speak. He's not going to come up and say, you know I do. No, he comes back with a different word for love. He says, Lord, you know I have affection for you. He says, well, feed my lambs. He comes in with a second question, and the second time around, again, he says, Peter, do you agapeo me? Do you agape me? And once again, Peter responds, Lord, you know I phileo you. I have affection for you. And so he says, feed my sheep. He comes to the third time, and this is what is the kicker, because what Jesus does here is he brings it down to where Peter is, and he says, okay, Simon, do you phileo me? I mean, do you even really have affection for me? And that's when Peter drops his head and says, it cuts him to the heart and says, Lord, only you know that I love you. But even in this moment, as they're having this conversation, this is the time that Jesus is going to lift him up. He acknowledged that, Peter's acknowledging, Lord, my love for you is just not up to par. I mean, how many times have you felt like that in your own life? I mean, if the Lord came to you and says, hey, do you agape me? Do you love me like I love you? I mean, probably be more like Peter. Well, Lord, you know I have affection for you. But even though Peter realizes my love's not up to par, what's beautiful about the story is that Jesus graciously understands where Peter's coming from, graciously restores him, and then commissions him, feed my lambs, tend my sheep, lead my people, love my people. And so he's basically saying, Peter, you're the one. You're the one that's that everybody's going to look to. You're the one that the rest of the guys are going to look to. So Peter, it's time for you to step up. It's time for you to man up. I believe in you. And this is the path that I want you to follow. So I'm passing the baton to you now to lead your band of brothers. And you're going to take the message of salvation to the world. And that's exactly what Peter did. And so Jesus gave Peter the chance to start over, and he gave him this new path to follow. And so when Jesus gives us this new chance, a fresh start, a chance to start over, he always is going to give us a new path to follow as well. He opens our hearts to see things from his perspective, and